Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we are going to dive right into an incredibly wild and, frankly, totally unconventional situation unfolding in local politics right now. Today, we're breaking down some recent source material that details an absolute upheaval in the Los Angeles mayoral race. We're going to map out exactly how a deeply entrenched political machine is suddenly finding itself turned completely upside down.
Right out of the gate, the source material hits us with a pretty brutal reality check. Through street interviews, it captures a raw, visceral mood, quoting one resident as saying, "LA isn't a city, it's a public toilet at this point." I mean, wow. It really highlights this deep, boiling frustration over severe, everyday issues. We're talking about genuine public exhaustion when it comes to fentanyl overdoses, sprawling homelessness, and what many voters perceive as just gross negligence from city leadership. This quote really perfectly captures the baseline anger of the electorate that our source material is exploring.
Section 1. Frustration in Los Angeles.
So this intense anger isn't just floating around in the ether, right? It's being directed squarely at the political establishment. On one side, you have the incumbent, Mayor Karen Bass. She's a Democrat who, as the source notes, is facing some incredibly heavy voter anger over unmet promises regarding the homelessness crisis. But then on the other side, you have this incredibly unlikely challenger, reality TV star Spencer Pratt. He is running as the ultimate disruptive outsider and is completely scrambling the traditional political calculus of the entire city.
Section 2. Enter candidate Spencer Pratt.
Now, you might be thinking Pratt's campaign is just a sideshow, but the source points out that it's actually gaining massive legitimate traction. He's acting as a lightning rod for all this local dissatisfaction, and it's built on some serious political irony. Get this, Pratt is a registered Republican, yet he explicitly claims that his financial backers and his voters are overwhelmingly angry Democrats who just feel totally betrayed by their party's local leaders. He's framing the whole thing as a nonpartisan race, hyper-focused on basic safety and infrastructure, plus he's leaning heavily into blaming active city negligence for these crises, rather than, abstract concepts like capitalism. It is a highly targeted message.
Section 3. Protests at the doorstep.
So how bad is this mounting anger? Well, it recently boiled over following a super controversial quote from City Councilwoman Nithya Raman. In the source, she's quoted as saying, "I don't think a kid's going to be safer because a tent is 500 feet away from a school. It's like whatever." According to the explainer video, this statement, where she really appears to just brush off safety concerns about homeless encampments being placed so close to schools, that was the breaking point for a lot of frustrated citizens.
The reaction to that whatever comment was immediate, and it was highly visual. The creator explains how anonymous citizens actually organized a stunt to strike back. They went and set up a parody, fake homeless encampment literally right outside Raman's personal home. We're talking physical tents, scattered trash, an old barbecue, some tires, the whole shebang. The goal, according to the organizers cited in the source, was to bring the harsh street-level realities that they deal with every single day directly to her doorstep so she'd have to experience it herself.
From there, the source draws this very sharp, deeply personal contrast between the two political figures. You have Nithya Raman, who's taking heat for maintaining a comfortable, safe home that's completely shielded from the very street realities she legislates. And then, the explainer highlights this really compelling personal anecdote about Pratt. He actually recently lost his uninsured home in the devastating Palisades fire, an event he directly blames on city mismanagement. Since then, he's been living out of hotels in a trailer. This stark contrast is being heavily utilized to fuel his populist outsider narrative.
Section 4. Media scrutiny and pushback.
Of course, when an outsider starts gaining this much traction, the establishment is going to notice and push back. As Pratt's momentum has grown, mainstream media has definitely tried to derail his campaign. The video breaks down a perfect example of this, a recent CNN interview between Jake Tapper and Pratt. First, Tapper tries to corner him with a pretty toxic question about a 2009 interview where Pratt apparently discussed 9/11 conspiracy theories. But Pratt, he absolutely refuses to take the bait. He just won't engage with 15-year-old comments. Instead, he masterfully pivots. He redirects the entire focus completely away from the past and straight back to the present-day failures of the city.
The crucial takeaway here is how exactly he executes that pivot. He says, the reality is people in charge fail us as taxpayers. By framing the issue entirely around the real-time ongoing failures of local leaders, like their catastrophic handling of the wildfires that burned down his own neighborhood, Pratt takes what was clearly meant to be a media trap and flips it. He uses it as a megaphone to broadcast his campaign's core grievance to a massive national audience.
Section 5. The polling shockwave.
So all of this civic disruption, the stunts, the media sparring, it all leads up to a brand new California Post poll cited by the creator. And it shows that the political landscape has entirely shifted. Voters are officially turning their backs on the incumbent because of these ongoing, unresolved issues with homelessness and affordability. And this shift? It has vaulted Pratt from a mere 7% in the early days all the way into a statistical tie for the lead.
We are literally looking at a razor-thin race right now. Suddenly, Spencer Pratt is leading the entire field at 30.1%. He is narrowly edging out the sitting mayor, Karen Bass, who's sitting at 29.5%, while Councilwoman Nithya Raman is trailing in third at 23.4%. The source frames this as an absolute political earthquake for the deeply entrenched Democratic establishment in Los Angeles. No one saw this coming.
And that brings us to a massive, absolutely crucial threshold, 51%. The creator heavily emphasizes the huge stakes of the upcoming June 2nd primary. See, in this specific electoral system, if any single candidate manages to secure 51% of the total vote in the primary, they just win the mayoral race outright. That means they completely bypass the November general election altogether. The source material suggests that with this wild momentum, an outright early victory for Pratt is suddenly shockingly within the realm of possibility.
Which leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Can a reality TV star actually harness this massive wave of raw, local frustration to secure a 51% outright victory and become the next mayor of one of America's largest cities? It is just a fascinating case study in the intersection of celebrity, sheer voter anger, and the highly unpredictable future of politics in our major urban centers. It really shows us that when voters feel completely abandoned by the status quo, the door swings wide open for the ultimate disruptor. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep your eyes on the data.